podcast. Yesterday, the weather was lovely, and so it probably was jacked even with the connection more than what normally happens here. But it's interesting in regards to the fact that are you connecting with yourself in the times that you may not be busy, in the times that maybe you're struggling and just don't know what to do. And so it is one of those things that I think a lot of times we end up going away from being connected with ourselves and being centered with ourselves. But as I continue, I want to give a shout out to our two sponsors that we have. That is Tabala's Food for Thoughts and Jasper Axelrad. Just appreciative of Jasper trusting us, coming on, and her heart and her passion to showcase small businesses in the Colorado Springs area. And so she does a great job with highlighting the small businesses and actually having them share their message, share their story with who they truly are, which is something that a lot of people end up running away from with the part of showing up and being true to themselves, being authentic with themselves, and just playing big and understanding that some people will connect, some people will resonate, other people won't. And so you just got to show up and share your message, share your story. And then we have the Chicken Coop with Miss Sherry out in the Black Forest area. So I want to thank you, Miss Sherry, for your heart, for what you do with the Chicken Coop and your focus on the community. It's just a huge thing to see your drive and passion really to focus on other people and really come about and have that focus on the community outside of your normal business operations. So it's a wonderful thing in regards with that piece. But it was interesting because today I had to go out and really put in some work in regards to shoveling the driveway because of how much snow that we had gotten. And it's one of those unique things when you have that opportunity to have to go out there and just be in silence and in nature, and how you can sit there and really focus and just gather your thoughts and be in a spot that you're not challenged by everything going on. Because we can get so busy that we disconnect from who we truly are, and we really don't take the time to focus on our thoughts, our feelings, and see what may be a hindrance to who we are as an individual, a hindrance to our growth and our progression, and the ability to really impact the lives of somebody else because of the stories that we're telling ourselves, because of what's going on. And so it is one of those things that if you're at a point right now where you're just kind of stuck and you don't know what to do and you're in a rut, let's sit down and talk. Let's sit down and see what's going on, what steps you need to take, but you're have a lot of overwhelm going on because you have a lot of information. You just don't know how to sort through it. And so let's sit down, let's talk, and figure out what's going to be best for you. Because a lot of times we try to do things on our own, but it's not beneficial because of the fact that we are 100% integral in everything that happens. And so if you don't take a step back and really focus and see taking place because of your thoughts, your stories that you're telling yourself, you're constantly going to be on this negative revolving door going through the same pattern, and you're like, what is going on here? Well, you got to look and ask yourself, what are your thoughts? How are you viewing things? What are you thinking? Because it does start there. But the fact that a lot of times we try to do it on our own and we're like, oh, we can do this and we don't need any help, it doesn't benefit any of us because we get stuck. And so you got to have somebody that's there for you as a partnership to walk with you and help you out, hold the flashlight, and really look and see. And so that's a beautiful thing. But it is one of those things that if you don't take the time and slow down, you're going to constantly run up against the same wall and end up being stuck and just not knowing what to do. But it does come into play too, because I was talking to a new friend of mine. Met her through TikTok, so jumped on there. If you want to go check it out and whatnot. But that's another avenue if you're looking to connect. Go check out TikTok. I know some people are like, "Ugh." But it was interesting because I was talking to the young lady, and she was discussing what's taking place in her life and why she decided to go on to TikTok. And she was looking at it as an outlet to connect with other people, to get out of her head in her house, which is one thing that John Kim talks about, is getting out of your head in your house. And so when things are going wrong or you're in a tough situation, what are you doing to move out of that situation? What are you doing to get out of your head of your house and really gathering your thoughts and really doing a deep dive on that? And it was interesting because as I was listening, I asked her, I was like, have you thought about sharing your message? Have you thought about the impact that what you've gone through, the impact that that can have on somebody else? And so she brought up the fact that she has thought about presenting her message, but she feels nobody's going to listen. Like, she doesn't believe there's anybody that's going to resonate with her story. And I find that unique in regards to, we go through life and then we get to the point where we end up beating ourselves up and we just don't believe anybody will resonate with our story, that nobody will be able to connect with it and make that connection, make that transition point to what needs to take place, to what needs to happen to get to that next level. And I was shocked because it is one of those things that when I talk to a lot of individuals, they bring up the fact that they're like, nobody's going to listen to my message. Nobody's going to want to hear what I have to say. Who's going to want to listen to me? And so the reason I can resonate with that is because when the podcast was launched, I was at that point where I was like, nobody's going to want to listen to me. Nobody's going to want to hear what I have to say. Nobody's going to resonate with the journey that I've gone on and what I've had to deal with and those negative stories and those thoughts. But it is unique because just to see the growth taking place with the podcast. And so I do want to give a shout out to those that are supporting me. Want to give a shout out to those that are regular listeners of the podcast. Thank you for your support. Thank you for showing up and letting me be part of your journey. It is a unique thing really to see the power of, by sharing your message and your story, what impact that has on somebody else, because you do allow somebody to have that permission. They get the courage to show up and play big and share their message, share their story, and understand the impact that can have on somebody. And so it is unique because I look at the fact that everybody has a story. And so if you're trying to figure out a way to get your message out, to get your story shared, and so going and looking at the journey beyond divorce, as I call it, the fact that each of us that have gone through this, it's going to be different. It's going to look different for everybody, but it's the same storm, different boats. But you have the ability to resonate with somebody better than I do. As I'm not going to resonate with everybody. I already know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, which is all right. I'm cool with that. But it is powerful that by your message, your story, what you've gone through, you have the ability to really impact somebody else, to really help them change the trajectory of their life by sharing your message and sharing what you did to overcome, to get to where you're at, to overcome those obstacles, because that gives somebody hope and understanding that they're not by themselves. And so as you're listening to this or you're watching this, anything that you're taking away, would love to hear the aha moments. You can hit me up in the chat. You can send me a message, different multiple ways and whatnot. But I like to say that as you're watching, as you're listening, to be a friend, tell a friend. And so if you're finding value in this, in the podcast in general, share that with somebody else, because you just never know what the message can do for somebody else. I find it unique because there are many episodes within the directory for the podcast that when Marion was part of the show, we had talked about multiple different things. And so it is unique because I look at it as we touch on points that could be beneficial for others that maybe not going through a divorce, but maybe they're struggling. And so it is a unique thing in regards to the fact that there is the ability really for somebody to find something in a message in a story that they can extract for themselves and put it into fruition to help them out, whatever it is. And so that's the beauty of this, is that even though they may not be going through a journey, but maybe they're stuck or they're in a point where relationships are just all jacked up, it does come to the fact that you just got to look at yourself and ask, what are you doing? What is your responsibility in everything that's taking place? And it is a unique thing. But also when I look and I listen to the culture and different things within our culture, it's unique because I was listening to Spotify today and there was a song that came on. I'm not exactly for sure who the artist is, but the title of the song is Single You Up. And it is unique because there is a line in the song that the gentleman's talking about if this gentleman singles up the lady in the song, that he's stupid enough to do that. But it is unique because I look at the fact that if you're looking into the relationship from the outside, you don't know what's taking place in that relationship. And so you as an individual are seeing that relationship through your lenses, through your perspective, but there may be something going on in that relationship where it just isn't a good fit anymore. Maybe the relationship has ran its course and it's the point that it has taught the individual whatever lesson needs to be taught, whatever lesson needs to be learned from that situation, from that relationship. And so it is unique because I look at it and you hear that line, or you hear a line from a song and whatnot. But with this one, talking about that stupid enough to single you up, it's the fact that how do you know that you as an individual are going to fit better in that relationship, or you're going to provide that individual that complementary piece to who you are. You're not looking to complete them, but you're looking to be a complementary piece to that individual. So it does go back to the point, though, that are you at a point that you love yourself for who you are, that you accept yourself for who you are? And it's a matter of the fact that if you aren't accepting yourself for who you are, where do you believe that it's going to make that new relationship work as smooth as possible? Why do you believe that if you can't love yourself and accept yourself for who you are, why do you think you can go into another relationship and enhance somebody else's happiness or enhance somebody's love for life or something of that nature? And so it is unique because if you go in there and you don't love yourself, you're going into a minefield potentially in regards to not being the individual, the full individual coming to the table, being your full authentic self. And so it is unique in regards that you look at it and a lot of people still are not working to become their authentic self. You have the situation where a lot of people will jump from relationship to relationship because it's not working out, but they're not looking at themselves to see what they need to do to work on themselves. What are those items that are the core issue for everything? You got to look at it and say, okay, what do I need to do to go in there and work on myself? What do I need to do to become the best version of myself going into the next relationship? But it is one of those things that a lot of people have a trouble of doing that because they have to start looking at themselves in the mirror and accepting themselves for who they are. And so that kind of goes hand in hand, because I think I was listening to a podcast, or I was watching something, or I came across a post on Facebook. I'm not for sure. Things bleed together and whatnot. But it is the powerful thing in regards that it's the idea of closure. And so, coming from John Kim's book, Single on Purpose, he does bring up the idea of some different things that you have to do, that it is for you yourself when it comes to this idea of closure. But it is a unique thing that a lot of times people don't go through that journey. They don't go on that path to give themselves closure, because now they have to go in, accept what took place, and give themselves closure for what's happening with that relationship, whatever it is. But it is unique because I came across a Dr. Seuss quote, and I think this goes hand in hand very well with a lot of different things, but especially with going through the journey beyond divorce, or if you've gone through an expired relationship and now you're sitting at this point where you're single and you're by yourself. And it's tough because maybe you're used to having somebody around, and now you've got to sit there with yourself and do that deep dive. But if you don't work on yourself and you don't do the necessary work, you're going to constantly run this vicious cycle of just going in and out of a relationship and never being fully fulfilled, because you're ending up not connecting with yourself. You're disconnected from yourself, and you're not taking the opportunity to grow and progress to do what you need to get to that next level, to become a better version of yourself going forward. The quote, though, for Dr. Seuss says, "You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way." And so think about that. When we think about a mountain, it is the idea that the mountain is your obstacle that you've got to go face. It's part of your hero's journey, and you've got to climb that mountain to get to the top. But it's the journey of climbing that mountain. It's not the destination of getting to the top, but it is the journey that you really need to focus on, because that legitimately is where the growth is coming into play. The progression is coming into play for you as an individual. And so if you're not taking the opportunity to really see and tap into that growth that's taking place, that's happening for you, you don't grasp what is taking place to come into your life to shape you to become a better version of yourself going forward. And so it is a unique thing in regards to loving the journey, loving the process and accepting it and going with it. But a lot of times people will get scared of that journey. They'll get scared of having to go climb the mountain, because it can be a scary thing, because now you're going into another level of making progression, of potentially pushing you out of your comfort zone and going to another level that you're not used to, or you haven't been to in a long time, because you've disconnected with yourself. But the three things that John had brought up when it came to the idea of closure, and so it is a unique thing when I good times. Got to knock out the chords. That's lovely. So, but it is a unique thing in regards, because with this topic coming up, I believe there's somebody out there that needs to hear these steps, because there's times that people won't go and do the personal development. They don't read. They don't go and find the mentors, the guys that will help them, give them the assistance, and give them tools and whatnot. And so I look at it, because this is live streamed to some different platforms. So somebody's watching, and I believe somebody needs to hear this, because there is that point where they're seeking outside of themselves and they're not giving themselves what they need. They're looking for that item from somebody else, from some other entity. And so that's why I believe that this was kind of the message of this episode for the podcast. So the first thing that comes into mind when it comes to the idea of closure is, what are you holding on to? And so when you look at yourself and the situation, what are you holding on to that you don't want to release? What is it that you're hoping comes back from that expired relationship? What is it that you're desperately holding on to and not letting go because of the fear factor of, if I've let this go, what happens? Am I holding on to this because it feels comfortable? And so if it feels comfortable and you're not letting go, how are you going to grow? And so you've got to look and ask yourself right now, when it comes to giving yourself closure, what are you holding on to and what do you need to let go of? And that's up to you as an individual. That's an individual thing. Nobody can tell you what that is for you. And so that is the powerful thing, that this is your journey. This is your hero's journey. And you get to make the decision of truly, what is it that you need to let go of? What are you not releasing because you're scared of the fear and whatnot? And so if you think about it, if you were to let this go and stop holding on to it, what would your life look like going forward? What would this do for you to fully release it and end up moving forward with that potential weight being taken off of your shoulder? But it comes to the point that you're the one taking the weight off of your shoulders. It's nobody else. It's your doing. And so that's the first thing, is, what are you holding on to? And so that is the deep dive. That is up to you to decide what it is. Next thing is, when you're holding on to that situation, whatever it is, why is it that you need that item? Why do you need to hold on to that? And so maybe it's an identity that you've created that you believe you can only get from that item. And so it goes to the fact that you are potentially looking outside of yourself and finding validation from things outside of yourself, instead of doing the deep dive and going deep and finding that inside of you, and you giving you that item, whatever you're desiring, whatever you're holding on to. And the reason that you're holding on to it is because it's the need. What's that need that you have to have this item? Why are you holding on to it? And it's unique because it's usually a belief about self. And that can be tough because now you're having to really question your beliefs. You've got to question the identity that you've created. You've got to question, is this thing that I'm holding on to that is not me, is this what's is identity, my identity for myself? Is this my belief of who I am? And so maybe it's something that you're holding on to because you're used to it, and you've been beaten up so much in a relationship. And so maybe you don't believe you're worthy. And so that's why you're holding on to it, because of that negative belief that you have, that belief that is not yours, but has been installed into you based on somebody else's actions, somebody else's words, how they speak to you and whatnot. And so it is one of those things that you've got to look in a lot. It is a belief that is not yours, but you're holding on to it. And so you've got to look and say, is this belief mine? And it goes back to a couple, I think about a month ago, when I talked about your instruction booklet. That instruction booklet is that belief outside of you that you've been given. And is that validation for you? Is that your belief that's true to you? Is that your true north for yourself? And then the final thing is that need that is something that you can give yourself? Is that something that you're able to provide yourself? And so it is a powerful thing when you think about it, because of the fact that everything you need really is inside of you. And so you have the puzzle piece that you're searching for to complete the puzzle. But it does go to the fact that it is something that's already inside of you, something that you already possess, that you can give yourself. And so it is one of those things that it's doing the work on yourself. It is understanding that you have everything that you need. But it comes into play, though, too, of you've got to look and audit and see who you're surrounding yourself with. What are you feeding your mind? What are you listening to? Who are you letting speak into your life? And so that is one of the powerful things when it comes to having a coach, having an individual that's there with you, is having that individual that provides you that space that you need, that provides that non-judgmental zone for you as an individual, that really does start working with you, and you do the work to really adjust the pathway of your thought patterns, of your feelings. And so it is unique because you have the power to be able to do this, because everything you need is inside yourself. But that's where it comes into point where you can't do this on your own, because you've got to think about it that you've had this habit over and over again that has developed and has hardened because it's built over time. And so if you've got these negative stories, you've got to think that you've created this neural pathway, that you've created this pathway where that story, that belief ends up taking a stronghold in you. And so if you're the one that created it because you believed it, it's going to be hard if you try to go about that yourself. And so that's where it is the power of having the tribe, having the individuals that are there for you to lift you up and whatnot. And so that's the power of the coach, is really to work with you as an individual to help adjust that thought pattern, to help you do the work. But ultimately, it's you doing the work, really overcoming what you need to overcome, whatever that is, and get to that baseline, or get to the point of getting out of the rut to thriving, whatever that may be. And so it is a beautiful thing, because it does really go hand in hand with the African proverb that I've quoted quite a few times, that you can go fast by yourself, but the thing is, you're going to be capped. You're going to hit a plateau going by yourself, because all you know is your experience, your thoughts, your lenses. And so to be able to go far, that's where you're working together with many multiple different individuals, whatever it is. And that's going to allow you to get far, because you're not relying upon yourself. You're not relying upon your story, your lenses, your experiences. You have somebody else that can be there with you and give you different perspectives, help you think and look at things differently and whatnot. And so it is a beautiful thing of creating your tribe, finding your tribe, really getting to that point where you have that comfort of somebody giving you that space. And it does start with you, though, giving yourself that space. But if you don't understand, or you're like, man, like, I can't give myself the space to really accept myself for who I am and adjust my thoughts and accept everything about myself, it's hard, because you've gone through and you've created that habit and that belief because of what's taken place in your life, what has occurred within who you are and your experiences and whatnot. So another short episode. I know it's one of those things that it's kind of fine tuning. I laugh because it is unique that I'm able to really go on a discussion just by myself. But I look at it too because it is my perspective. And so that's why I've brought it up before too, that as you're watching the live, the stream, or you're listening to the podcast, don't elevate me to a higher level than you are. We're all on a level playing field. We're all on an equal playing field, because if you elevate me and whatnot, it's not a good thing, because I'm human. I'm going to have failures. I'm going to have mistakes and whatnot. So it's understanding that we're all here to work together. It's the fact that as we're working together, you have individuals that are just a couple steps ahead of you that can help you get to that next level. And it is a unique thing, because one of the individuals I listen to and watch is Pat Flynn, a great individual. I highly suggest you go check him out on YouTube. But he brought up the fact that he has been called the Machete Man. And so it is one of those unique things that he was talking about, this idea that he's out in front with the machete, going through and clearing out the trees, the leaves, the vines, whatever it is, to clear a path for somebody else. But when you look at it, he also talks that he's going to pass the ball to somebody else and allow them to lead, allow them to do what they need to. And so that's the thing, that with a coach or a mentor, it's the individual just a couple steps ahead of you, giving you that perspective, that insight. But ultimately, you've got to determine what tools, what stories, what perspectives, what lenses are going to benefit you as an individual and allow you to progress and get to that next level. But it does come down to you doing the work. You are the hero of your own journey, and it does come down to you as an individual to get to that next level, to go through that journey and understand that you're going to get bruised, blasted, you're going to get bloodied. It's sometimes not easy. It's not fun, because sometimes growth is painful, but it's necessary. It's huge, and it's something that you've got to take a hold of to get to that next level and whatnot. So as I discussed before, if you're at a point where you're stuck, you just don't know what to do, reach out, let's sit down and talk and see what that is for you as an individual to get to that next level. What is that next step that you need to take to get to the point where you want to get to? And that's your call on what that is for you as an individual. But also, be a friend, tell a friend, share the episode, share the live with somebody else that needs to hear this message, hear the value, receive this value, and end up extracting the nugget of whatever they need. But if you're like, man, this was a waste of my time, then just act like this never happened. But if you have any questions, you can reach out to me in multiple different ways: Facebook, Instagram, on TikTok, like I said, through the email address that there's 2 email addresses that you can out to. That will be in the show notes, that you're able to utilize as another way to reach out and have the conversation and the discussion. But other than that, appreciate your guys' support. Thank you guys for everything that you do. I want to thank you for you, being such a great individual, and you making an impact in the world because of what you are, who you are, and what you do. So other than that, I'll catch you guys later. Have a great night. Love you. Peace out. Later.